Let's also check. Oh. Okay, I think we are live. What up? What up? What up? What up?
Yo,
How are we doing? Yo, yo.
pull up the chat.
Hey, Tyson's on the chat. But okay, today we got a more stack show for us here, and I'd like to also to start with some vibes to kind of like set the tones for today's discussions and all that. So, without further ado, let me share this and bop bop. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Appreciate you guys being here with us.
Yeah, how was everybody's Thanksgiving?
Right. So,
What Colin gets that?
oops.
Abuse anyone, human being can be abused as a kid.
Story Mike and a story
You guys
about
hear me?
boxing. It's about pain.
If he weren't here, I probably wouldn't be alive today.
He taught the world how to use it.
He took me in his house. He didn't even know me.
What kind of impact do you think that had on you?
It made me have to be tough.
And I will stay alive, and I will watch him become
I'm
a...
not gonna be grabbed by some guy.
Never again.
Because I will not leave until that happens.
I don't want that person to come out. If he comes out, hell is coming with him.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
It's only so long you can run from the pain.
When you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil.
I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been.
Just chaos and cocaine and women.
You can't man enough to fuck with me. You can't have 2 minutes in my world, bitch.
Eventually, you gotta face it.
And that guy's kind of dead now. He fought, screamed, and cried and scratched all the way till he died.
6 years of jail time for Mike Tyson, and he's going to prison right now.
You know how people like
4-year-old daughter
play music
died
in the
one day
bedroom?
after what police called a traffic accident.
I couldn't handle it all.
This is what I have playing.
The boxing star
Mike Tyson montage.
For me to make them rich so that I could rob them because they
No
were
one's
poor
going
when
to surpass me and the pain I've endured. I'm the king of the barbarians.
That's why he's the greatest.
Life is beautiful because life gives us the ability to just know them on our journey in life. We met them, we loved them, we cared about them, they cared about us. That's the purpose of life, just enjoy what we had, what we journeyed through it. Why do I have to go through this pain? Why do I have to go through this fear all the time? Why can't it just be peaceful all the time? Then it wouldn't be life.
Yeah, shout out RPN for this beautiful ad.
Hell
But I think that's also captures this topic that we are talking about today, which I think we label it as right effort, how we perceive that to be the mastery over exertion and violence. And Mike Tyson is one of the cultural icons that we think that can embody and spark this conversation really well for us, given how his life circumstance takes him from a very, very rough beginnings and going through what he had to go through, achieve greatness in the way that he dream big, but also like becoming a very, very interesting, different version of himself throughout all this different iteration. So that's the topic that we're setting out for us today, the right effort, the exertion, the violence, because I think that oftentimes we talk about spirituality, it can be quite sanitized from the rough patches of our life, how much trials and tribulation, how much pain that we must endure, that some of you guys listening in, I'm sure that you have many, many rough moments in your life where you feel like you don't have any more to give, yet you still are asked to perform, you are still asked to Yeah, so there's just a lot to talk about this, and I think right effort is one of the things that is a through line. Whether you're talking about whatever kind of Buddha Dharma, the Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, there's this expectation that you must have to know how to put in effort. So it's a big topic. It's a big topic, and there's a lot of things to unpack here. I think I'm very appreciative of the chance here to talk with Taylor, to talk with Frank, because Frank, as you guys can see through the work that he put out over the years, is have to put him through own kind of exertion. We got creative exertion, of course, the physical side, the bodybuilding, explosive training that Frank went through, but own sort of exertion. And the other side, we got Taylor here, which I think he's a self-proclaimed retired bully, but now it's like rekindling his mental of how to turn aggression into dharma in certain ways. Yeah. But Frank and Taylor, how you guys feeling about this topic so far? You're on mute, Frank.
I lost my voice, so I'm not gonna be speaking too much today. I got a new voice. Too much exertion.
Kind of sound like Mike Tyson a little bit.
I mean, Tom likes it. Tom think it's sexy.
Ah.
Exertion. I mean, I don't know. It's just so natural for me to exert. I think after it's just so natural. It's like breathing, it's hard to even talk about it. But then I think some people just have a natural inclination to exert. But like existence is exertion, right? Just being alive. Just being alive is hard, man. Life is hard, just getting up, brushing your teeth in the morning, getting up, the alarm sounding in the morning, gotta go to work, driving through traffic, all that's exertion. But we just find ways spiritually to like make exertion art. You know what I'm saying, bro? Yeah. To exert without suffering. That's where it's at, man. To exert without suffering. That's right effort, man.
Yeah.
Exert without contraction. I say exert while being constantly in a state of, I don't want to say expansion.
Yeah, because it doesn't, it's like expansion, contraction. It
doesn't really matter.
It's all, both are exerting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going beyond them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beyond the extremes, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I actually really like this topic. I think this is something really interesting to talking about for all the reasons that you've laid out so far. It's we talk about it a lot in the boot camp. The you could say the causes and conditions for its discussion often arise. Like you were saying, it's in I think what we often see is this straying away from particularly a type of exertion. Well, maybe there's a straying away in general from exertion with this, that notion of kind of like the notion of the flow, something like being in the flow. I think often for most people carries this connotation of like this even when they say effortless effort, or they think of effortless effort, like the level of strain and I guess what you could say exertion. I don't know. It's very. Mm, it's interesting, right? It's like this notion of passivity, which I don't think there's necessarily a problem with passivity, but it's like it's always this straying maybe towards something like annihilationism, right? It's yeah. Um, yeah, and there's a lot of nuance that we could talk about in terms of exerting and violence because at either extreme it can be problematic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot we can talk about. A really interesting topic.
Yeah, a lot of interesting topic we can talk about. Speaking of flow and speaking of like going through all this motion, I guess today discussion wouldn't be complete if we don't have our first official guest. Shout out episode 1, Right Effort, that we're on right now. But before we welcome our guest, Frank has also prepared for us like a sneak peek intro, kind of like a collage of the slicing together. Our guest of honors today, Mr. John Lay. Oops. Okay. Wait.
Can I do a little intro on John before the video start?
Yeah, we can do a little intro on John.
Right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, John's one of my favorite dudes. Yeah, this is what I'm putting in my my next YouTube video description. Listen to how John went from hood life to anatta realization, how he taught vipassana meditation, body scanning, Taoism, energy work to himself without reading any spiritual text to completely heal his life debilitating injuries from hardcore lifting, drugs, and motorcycle accident, just going extremes. Working in the ER, John has witnessed countless deaths and having experiences not just one, but multiple ego deaths, almost getting shot in real life too. He also muses on his love for the 90s, upgrading his masturbation maneuvers to cross the chasm from magazines to the early stages of internet porn. Oh, just to give a little context, like, just really short, like one of my assignments from our head teacher, Mei Chen, in CC, especially this bootcamp, is to conduct 60-minute interviews, starting with the mentors. And John is going to be the first one that I upload. It's already on our YouTube channel on Kind of Blade CrossFit. You can check it out. There are other mentors as well. Because like he said, I've been interviewed countless times before, right? And then to flip that karma, now I have to interview people, and also as part of my ninth Boomi territory training, like make bodhicitta gains by like yoking to other people. Yeah. So because like after realization, now you have the flexibility to like go beyond self and others and include both self and others. So to aggregate and tune into other sentient beings, to feel other people not just as myself, but as themselves, both and neither. So that's my new project right now. And John is our first guest.
So let's.
Me and you are so similar in that way. To go beyond extreme, you have to go through the edges of all the extremes.
I like to explore this extreme, that extreme. I had an over 40-inch vertical myself.
You did?
I was like 150, benching 300. Not just painkillers, I do all sorts of drugs. I was just going hard on everything. Lifting, drugs, partying.
Would you say by exerting on these things, you also exhausted them in some ways?
I had injury, stopped working out, crashed my motorcycle. I went from injured to here. I think I healed myself.
You were in the ER though, right?
I've seen a lot of death. I've had some really crazy death experiences. All that did was tell me there's something else to this fucking reality.
What got you here?
Man, you motherfucker. Seeing you on the internet when I was a young Asian boy. Oh yeah! Trying to get buff.
Damn,
over 20 years. I was trying to feel my pain, right? Realized like everything hurts. What can I do to try to make it not hurt? I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was body scanning.
And you didn't read anything spiritual at all?
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm so far away from my body. Where's my body? I got to a point where I got scared. I was like, oh my God, if I try really hard, I might just fall out. Am I just gonna die right now? And I had that fucking Matrix experience where I just woke up one day, I was like, I fucking know Kung Fu. I was just sitting there practicing, and I was literally yelling, what the fuck? Crazy ruckus, and they called the ambulance because they thought I was having a stroke. This is not a medical emergency. Tell them to.
This is a spiritual emergency.
Yeah. I'm going through some spiritual shit. He picks up the gun and starts shooting at me. I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting shot at. Me try to become like a Buddha, maybe? What the fuck? But at least now it's not outside the realm of
impossibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't tell the story all the time what jacking off was like before the internet existed. Right hand click, left hand dick.
That's such a good edit.
Yo, John, come on, man. Come on the show. Hop on.
Damn, that's good. That's emotional, man. I felt emotional watching that.
What a fucking hype video. I'm hyped for myself. Thank you. Thank you. Right?
Yeah.
Right hand click, left hand dick. I'm surprised that's not on the internet more. That was pre-internet. The transition.
Well, it kind of makes sense. Your sound isn't like perfect right now because we go into like the 90s karma.
Oh, yeah.
Like those pixelated like image.
That's the tech, man. It's period correct.
Yeah, but like I think a little bit of background, like Frank was just describing about John just now. Like there's this also this flow of finding out about the path, and also starting with exertion, like Frank did. A lot of physical training. And then you also say like the exertion can also go through this kind of like just exploring the edges of life. You have your rodeo with drugs. You have your rodeos with injuries, you have your rodeo with like very near-death experience, getting shot at, motorbike accident, all those kind of things. So I think that today we also talk about this topic of like kind of pushing to the extreme, right? Pushing to the limit, and seeing that as some sort of a medium for us to train what it feels like to exert and put our body, our mind, our soul on the line as part of this practice. And I think that maybe a little bit of a background of the context of our conversation now is there's also this talk about in contemplative CrossFit and CC how we employ a lot of these kind of physical fitness for meditative absorption, for meditative training. Like we talk about warm up, we talk about peaking, we talk about cool down, and we also talk about things like even periodization. How right now at week 10, we're going in a process of tapering. We're going in a process of easing into the training in the first 3 weeks, then really, really picking at around week 8, week 9. And now with that pick, can we stabilize? So there's just a lot of things to talk about here, but maybe we can start with John. How do you feel about this topic? How do you feel about exertion as a topic like this?
Oh yeah, super important. I mean, who doesn't love a great transformation story, right? We had Mike Tyson on the Hype Up the Vibes video earlier, and I think exertion is required for a transformation. Exertion is required for what we talk about, the exhaustion of certain karma, so we can disrobe, layers of ourselves that get in the way of just being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about rest and recognizing. I think Mei Chen once said that resting is kind of like an anti-exertion exertion. So let's just give you a context. What most people think of exertion, they might think just going all out, going hardcore, contracting, or like having a lot of energy. But what is really the relationship between exertion and rest, between eccentric, concentric, between the period in your lifting journey when you're resting and growing muscles versus actually lifting, or like in between sets? They co-dependent, right? They cannot exist without each other.
Yeah, it can't just be a blind exertion, right? It can't just be just going all out with no regard for anything. I mean, that could work in certain contexts, I believe, but there's definitely something about the right kind of for skillful means. And then what is that exactly, right? That's definitely something we dig into in our practice here at CC.
Yeah, we've talked about it I know we've talked about it in CC in various discussions, and we may have mentioned it in some of the legacy podcast episodes, but there's a difference between resting and relaxing too. And to rest, even to recover, it takes some sort of exertion, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about it from a fitness perspective, when when you're when you're providing a stimulus for the body to adapt to, when you're training, when you're doing physical training, the goal isn't necessarily to damage muscle fibers, right? It's to provide an appropriate stimulus for the body to adapt to. But that adaptation takes exertion. It takes there's an exertional process as new muscle fibers are generated, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that touches on what you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, Frank. It's like to exist is to exert, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, and also what you said about resting in the context of our practice, resting and recognizing, we can say recognizing there's a kind of exertion in terms of like you have to decide moment to moment to be lucid, but resting doesn't always equate to feeling good or peaceful or equanimity or just surrendering or being lazy actually, right? You said something like that as well.
Yeah,
what is resting?
Yeah, a common thing I've seen in, I guess, the marketplace of quote unquote spirituality is people think that somehow with some sort of realization, less effort needs to be done, less suffering happens. I mean, it does, but like, some sort of purification where all that disappears and there's nothing to do. We find out here at CC what we're learning is that no, there's plenty to do. If anything, with more realization, you have the capacity for more effort, right? And to get there, it takes exhaustion and effort.
Yeah, that's what the fitness level is. But even if you go to like a 10-day Vipassana retreat, I would say for most people, they will understand like exertion can also mean sitting completely still. To be with your emotions, whether positive or negative or neutral.
Yeah.
That's exertion too, right? That's why we call anti-exertion, exertion. Yeah. And I think the difference people don't distinguish is the difference between pain and suffering. Because as well, our fitness level increase, as our capacity increase, we can take on more pain in terms of like stressors. Even athletes, the ability to, mandate or to not filter, but to like, what's the word here? Just transmutate stressors into productivity or creativity without suffering. That's where the key is.
Yeah, it's I really like to focus on I guess I don't know, maybe call it that edge of exertion, where as you're exerting, somehow there's a depth of intimacy being illuminated as we're doing it. I think this is what I was talking about earlier about the right kind of effort. Because how do you exert effort without, in a way, adding more layers of karma if you have maybe the wrong view about it, right? So it's a big kung fu type of concept where as you're practicing something, as you're exerting, as you're putting the right effort, somehow you're getting a deeper understanding of what you're doing, how things are, what your view is. Like as you're looking, can your view be refined? So really easy just to exert so much that all that sensitivity and intimacy disappears. And maybe outwardly you'll have some sort of tangible, measurable variable that you say, okay, that my vertical jump is a little bit higher now because of my practice, or I can punch a little harder. But are you really gaining a deeper understanding of the relationship to all that and all that becoming? So it's almost like even though the external thing looks like, oh, I'm jumping higher, it's such a partial picture of the kind of training you do at CC, surfing that edge. Where performance increases, but also intimacy, awareness, understanding increases.
Yeah. I think you're touching on an actual subtle point of view refinement that comes with exerting when there's this. I was having a conversation with one of the acolytes the other week, and it was that particular part of the conversation was revolving around the difference. Let's see, it's like, how do we know whether we're truly resting and recognizing as opposed to attempting to manipulate our experience, right? And at a certain point, I guess functionally speaking, we could say it's, at least how I communicated at that time, it's kind of like the difference between this participatory coherence with reality as reality, whereas that manipulation comes kind of from a point, not kind of, it comes from a place of separation, right? But when there's this coherence with reality, as you're participating it, then even that sort of conceited manipulation, it you could still call it manipulation, but it's no longer a manipulation of something that's apart from yourself, that you're separating yourself from, right? That seeks to, in its manipulation, seeks to maintain that separation, whether that's trying to maintain a certain state of being, which is instantiating this ultimately privileged state that we want to abide in, right? So yeah, it's interesting.
Sometimes I describe right effort as effort beyond extremes, just like right view is the view beyond extremes.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's inclusive of effort and effortlessness.
Yeah.
But then you can only flexibly, between these spectrum, make maneuvers if you have the right view and to go beyond extremes. Otherwise, your effort is always going to be like you said, there's a kind of a grasping.
Yeah.
Even when you try to be effortless, when you try to let go without learning to even let go of letting go, there can be an extra sense of, the compounding on top of the compounding, right? You can actually grasp onto the effort to be effortless.
Yeah.
We're trying
Yeah.
too hard to surrender and do nothing, but it's still doing something. You don't have the right view.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So then if we know to exist is to exert, then that right type of effort becomes that effort that is this inseparable participation,
Right.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That among other things is ultimately willing to change. Something like that.
Change. Can you expound more on that? Willingness to change.
Right, because that unwillingness to change is that place from which that kind of conceited manipulation
Okay. So you're trying
comes
to.
from. And
Oh,
there's
okay.
still an effort, there's still an efforting, right? But
Yeah.
it's not, it's you could say that's also situated atop wrong view. You could say it's that's not if this is the kind of what we're laying out as right effort, right? And I guess another way you could talk about it too is with this notion of violence that I don't see often talked about, particularly in spiritual communities in any way that's positive, is like that kind of conceited manipulation that that inadvertently maintains this sense of separation, right? In that there's a sense of separation, there's a maintaining of certain types of borders, right? Like if you look at the sense of self as a type of bordering, right? As a type of separation, and this maintenance of that particular constitution of bordering, even that in and of itself is violent, right? Like like protecting our borders is violent. Like like being defensive is violent. Being an impenetrable wall is violent. But then also change is violent. Breaking down those borders is violent, right? Dissolution is violent. So like violence is an inescapable aspect of existing as well. But that's a very different way of talking about violence than you ever really, at least that I come across. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do
so I think that
appreciate this talk about violence. Sorry, real quick. And I just want to say that sometimes people stray away from a concept like violence and refuse to look at it, completely. And I think that's what we're doing here is making sure our view is not incomplete, so it's not partial. So to have that complete view, complete understanding, you have to go all the way through and even examine these ideas that somehow might be taboo if you don't have the right understanding, right view of it.
Yeah, we're talking about nature, right? Recognize the nature of nature. And if you look at nature, there's a lot of violence in nature. And destruction is the key component in creation, right? Creative destruction. And in order for you to change, you need to exert, to adapt to the environment. I think it has to come down to the willingness to adapt. Because sometimes when we try to change in a conceited way, we're trying to change still within this dome of self-view. We're trying to like change in order to maintain a sense of identity or something, or we're just changing a part of ourselves. But then sometimes the more we change, if you don't have the right view, the more separated we are from the environment.
Yeah. There's a sense of continuity that we cling to that we're unwilling to allow to change.
That's
Like
violent to me.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Con? You had a comment?
Oh yeah, I was just saying that so far we are laying a lot of dimension to this topic, right? We're saying that the topic of efforting, putting in effort, relates how that relates with exertion and relates to violence. And because we're saying that is right effort the mastery of exertion and violence. And then we're saying that even just existing, to exist is to exert and to meet resistance. And when you meet resistance, there's a sense of violence towards it, right? When there's a resistance that you want to be separated from it or in some way don't want to meet it, there's that kind of like violent pushback. Or if you really wanting to chasing some state or chasing some sort of a tangible or intangible, whatever you want to chase, there's also this pursuit of that. So it seems to be the case that we are contemplating here is exertion without resistance. Is that the holy pursuit? Is that the flow state that we're talking about? Is that the kind of like paradise that we want to be at? where there seems to be like, yes, there is ability to put in the effort, but there is not that resistance. Is that possible? Or how does that look like? And now we're also putting on maybe a conversation about violence as some sort of like this relational friction of like how when you come into contact with another being, there is that friction, even if they get along right now, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get along later. So even the potential of friction already is the friction. So then we talk about like boundaries between self and other. How do we dissolve that boundary? Once we dissolve that, can we stay in that position? And there's a lot of talk in that. So I guess in one way we can get clear on this topic. Perhaps it's also to talk what we think to be the opposite of right effort, I guess, is wrong effort. Like, why is there such a rampant kind of avoidance or bypassing of this topic in spiritual communities, like for example violence? Or yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that actually. Like, how does one get to this kind of point where they're able to even examine this thing? And I feel maybe it's not as linear as the way I'm going to describe it, but at first I think people have to just kind of even understand the idea of emptiness or no effort first before they can reintegrate like putting effort on top. I think most people right now, by default, are doing all sorts of effort in the maybe quote unquote wrong way. So how do you undo that first kind of default way of being? So we have to train in kind of relaxing, no effort, dropping these things that we don't know that we're unconsciously doing. So in a way, I think most of the spiritual community is kind of on that thing where they, all right, first people are doing too much shit, so now we have to like train people to just like chill out and do that kind of thing. And then as the first step of that kind of training, people would just maybe become captured by that or attached to the idea and think that going all the way is the right way. And that's what I really appreciate about CC is that we integrate, basically the complete view. And let's talk about modernity. We can allow ourselves to start exerting again, integrate how our relationship to violence is, It's violent to destroy the false ground that we used to stand on, that kind of thing.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that's a great aspect about like how maybe there is also like a progressive, like a leveling up of our relationship with exertion, relationship with violence, even of how like there is the talk of expedient and definitive, how there is a different point of the journey. Maybe it's a different attitude towards this topic. Perhaps we're coming from the background of very, very hard striving, like always I gotta get the next thing, gotta get the next thing. And in that ways, like the beginning attitude is to, can you just stop and chill for a moment and see that you can't do it? You can't stop. That's the problem, right? Can't stop and won't stop. So then even cultivating the attitude that to practice letting go because of your ongoing habit of striving and clinging in that way. And once we have achieved a certain level of proficiency in that letting go, now can we actually exert in a way that is non-clinging? And then continue with that to the point of like, can we see that even in the clinginess, like in the clinging, that's also okay, of the exertion in that, acceptance of that. So there's seems to be like, John is also pointing out like there's these different points in the journey that we cultivate. And that's why like a lot of time it can seem like cyclical training of like revisiting the same point over and over again. But we can also look at it in a three-dimensional, looking at it as a spiral, right? Like it's actually like going at a similar spot, but at a different levels now, and have a different dimension to it.
Yeah, I think the effortlessness, just like the idea of trying to stop our thoughts, there's kind of like a remedy, right, to cure the modern disease, quote unquote, of like overthinking, overdoing. But then if you don't have the right view, then it's very easy to cling on to the medicine, the remedy, as the ultimate, thinking that the expedient is the definite, and make that into a thing. So you make emptiness into a thing, you make non-doership into a thing, no self into a new non-existent self, into a
No
self.
thoughts as a goal. Yeah.
No thought as a goal.
Very
but without-
nihilistic.
Yeah, that can just spiral into nihilism, and not seeing how, even something like non-doership is just the byproduct of a certain sets of cause and conditioning that arises. Oh, there's an experience of flow or non-doership. Another set of cause and condition arises. There's a sense of doer again. But once you see how they are both empty in the sense that they depend on cause and conditioning, then you get the insight out. It's okay to be effortful, have a self, or have an experience of no self, or be effortless. But neither of them is the ultimate ground.
You get an idea of like what is actually going on, even as you're efforting or not efforting, whatever it is. You just understand what is going on. Like there's no friction in that.
Yeah, I just want to have a quick comment that there is some question on the chat, and we also do have question that was sent in before the show start, and we're gonna prioritize answering those questions first. So those are coming. So we do have some question from the audience that we'll answer later on. Yeah. Were you saying something, Taylor, about this topic?
I guess just one small comment to, since we do kind of have this anchor in the Buddha Dharma, right? When we talk about, like when we look at the Eightfold Path, when we talk about right effort, right view, right conduct, and so on, like they are right in that you could say, foster this coherence, like various facets of a jewel. And this coherence amongst what we are then calling is right. And if what we are calling as right is, whether it's view, effort, conduct, livelihood, that comes, you could say, from a fundamentally virtuous place, not a moralistic place, but a virtuous place, which that could be a whole nother conversation for another episode about what we even mean by virtue, right? Because I think there's often this conflating of virtue with morals and ethics, right?
Yeah.
But it's what is right in that it comes from this virtuous place that then does not suffer. And so right effort, as we're saying, it doesn't cling to non-resistance, nor does it avoid resistance, which is similar to also saying that it doesn't reject what is ultimately the inseparability of samsara, nirvana, form, emptiness, right? Ultimate relative freedom from conditions versus freedom amongst conditions, something like that. So yeah, this is a small comment that I was thinking about while everyone was sharing.
It's real easy to get kind of a misconception of what people mean by right. It's so contextual.
Yeah, because there's such like a moral flavor to right and wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wanting to be one absolute thing that is right and triumph over everything else, right? Then there's that kind of like substantial wanting to cling of like, this thing, right?
Yeah.
So wanting to that kind of confirmation, validation to be like the one true thing in that way.
The one thing I can reference everything else, and like I got it. I got that one thing.
Yeah.
Neither resistance nor non-resistance. We've been saying that a lot.
Yeah, perhaps I want to share something relating to this topic because, to be honest, I think that out of all the perfection and qualities that a practitioner is asked to cultivate on the path, I would say exertion is something that I'm very weak at. Actually, in one of the legacy episode, we were talking about at that time I was starting my training regimen, like physical training as well, because I didn't really see the point before that. I thought that I could approach this from maybe a more intellectual perspective, or maybe like just a joking aspect of just like sit down and like just scan, or like just sit down and contemplate and work things through. But hanging out with you guys more and thinking more about these aspects, and also noticing what happens when the exertion, like the physical exertion, portion is not there, it's the absence of it. Ones where we don't cultivate because of whatever reason, right? We deprioritize it because we're busy, things get in the way, we don't have time to lift or run or do whatever. And I could see that for me, like, oh, then I get like it's lacking the capacity to hold strong emotions even, because the body is just not be able to handle that. And like even then feeling into how maybe it leads to the kind of becoming more manic, of like just energy just run too fast that you can't calmly stabilize yourself, or become like very depraved in the kind of like sexuality, like a depraved of like yeah, just get like overtaken by lust, because they're just not be able to ground yourself in your own embodiment. So actually like a very, very tangible exertion in terms of like going to the gym, lifting all these things, has actually been one of the things that really unlock more of my even yogic fitness. This is actually literally like physical fitness, and how I could see that previously. And yeah, based on me talking to other people as well, that for a lot of us, maybe we haven't seen the connection yet between physical fitness and like yogic fitness, and like even intellectual fitness. How like as you train, you run, allowing your being to be embodied in very like time and attention, right? Like actually allowing you to reps out like a 8 out of 10 rate of perceived exertion, and allowing yourself to feel what that feels like. And it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to be really, really tired. And do that consistently enough, and then it generates a whole new level of resolution, clarity for what it feels like to be myself. Because I was seeing also like maybe me and a lot of other folks was trying to maybe like sit down and trying to dissolve my problems away, instead of I don't know, just find different mediums. Yeah.
Yep.
I can give it a go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I just want to share that even in my personal journey, I've definitely fell into the trap of just endlessly trying to dissolve everything, all my thoughts, all my suffering, all my knots in my body. I thought that the goal was to just dissolve and become this like pure energy, pure chi, just cultivating like that kind of energy. But I think what I'm reminded when I'm hearing Khan speak is it's not about purifying this tangible material thing, but I guess to spend enough time in the process so that you're purifying the process, the way we become, so that the process happens in a manner where we understand what's going on. And like I said, a surfing of that right effort so you can gain further deepening about the process, not about the material end goal, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I was thinking of a really easy example to maybe give that then we can kind of tie into why it's like having this sort of like physical fitness is important, right? Think about when you experience like hangriness, right? It's like the way that kind of state of being flavors the way you perceive and interpret what is going on, the kind of that mode of being that is hangry has a obvious desire to be fed, that then, right? When we train physically and build this physical resilience, what we're also doing is training this ability to take, and we've said this before, it's like not only to maybe sublimate some desires that might be dysfunctional in various real life, practical, conventional circumstances and situations, right? So the ability to sublimate those desires, but then also to take accountability for what our preferences are in those moments that might let's see, it's not that they necessarily negatively impact, but it's maybe they're not appropriate for the context that we find ourselves in when we're relating with others. And so what I mean by that is we have this desire to be hungry that taints and flavors the way that we perceive and interpret what is happening. And if we can't take accountability for all of these assumptions and biases and preferences that we have in that moment, we end up making it the other person's problem. We may end up making it other people's problem. And so like building this vehicle, this physical vehicle that can navigate and move through those conditions and those processes in a way that I mean it's like what we're talking about with coherence, right? It's yeah, so I guess I'm saying it's also this fitness to take accountability among other things.
And I think like sorry, Frank, you just one quick comment about Taylor's background. From what I understand, like Taylor, you're firefighting, so there's definitely a physical aspect and a standard where you need to operate at. But even before you becoming a firefighter, you were also trained in CrossFitting. You were wanting to compete even in CrossFit, right? And you was also coaching people. You go to college for a degree in these kind of very tangible, very like detailed nuance of all these things. And I think you also train in Muay Thai, like just straight up throwing hands. And that was
Like I've like MMA is very common in Hawaii, so even like a lot of people grow up spending time sparring, doing various things, going to gyms or not. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess like this pointing out is that background is it's kind of like, because I think for you, the way that you were navigating this journey was just spending a lot of time getting comfortable with this kind of more range of physical embodiment, right? What it feels like to be very, very tired, and what it feels like to push yourself in this way, and like being very, very minute with all these range, having a lot of cognition. So it's just not like going in and pumping out the reps, but it's
Yeah,
also
yeah, you
like,
build lucidity in that
yeah,
range, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like I can give one more example. At work we had a long rescue recently, and anyone who's in the fire service, whether it's they've been at like a fire scene for a long time and they're just absolutely drained, or like even any type of blue collar work where there are construction, whatever, where they're grinding all day. It's like you get to a point where you're so tired or you're so hungry. It's like that fatigue, that tiredness, that hunger, whatever, it has a desire. It has what it wants. And like it gets to a point where it doesn't care about the other people that it's serving anymore, right? But do you have the lucidity in that range of being to recognize the nature of those desires? And I guess maybe then that's when we get into the territory of talking about what virtue is. But then to take accountability for that, right? For that expression, for that desire, and not make it other people's problem. Like acknowledge it, because if you don't acknowledge it, it'll seek to be expressed in more and more intense ways that are often uh more perverted or something like that, right?
Give it what it
yeah,
wants, but being
Yeah.
completely responsible.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge and take accountability for like there is a part of me that does not care anymore. Like it just wants what it wants. But then in that still choosing, like making the actual choice. And that's like what it means to also to like even in like a marriage or in a relationship where you have a partner, it's like you're choosing. It's a constant choice to show up and to love them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like yeah, there's a duty and there's a responsibility, but it's not this yeah, it's a choice, right?
Decisions are being made, and with each decision there's creation happening, and at the same time there's death and violence happening with every moment of
Yeah,
creation.
yeah, because it's like if it's not like how can you say I don't know, it's like if you're not choosing to show up when you don't want to be, like if it's not even a choice, then I don't know how we can exactly call that love. I mean, and there's some subtleties to that too, right? Because then we get into the topic of like, what does it mean to love unconditionally, right?
Right.
Yeah. But it's also it's very similar to that notion of like it doesn't we could say it doesn't make you a good person because you're incapable of harming other people, right? If you don't even have that, like if it's not even a
Capacity.
choice because you don't even have the capacity to harm, you're just yeah, you're not
Docile.
necessarily yeah, you don't have the actual choice to do what would then be called good. Yeah.
No, you're not making that decision. It's just happening for you. So you don't
Yeah.
have any other choice but to do that thing. Is that love if you had no real say in it, you know?
Yeah. So
Kind of
then the
being
same,
pushed that way.
yeah. So then if like if I'm chained to, let's say, to my relationship because of things that I feel are outside of my control, and I'm just like it's not a choice in that way, then I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah. Really speaks
Yeah.
to people's more misconceptions about what compassion is, love is, all these words
Yeah.
that we try to pin these experiences to.
Yeah, to be compassionate, you need power. You need fitness to be compassionate.
Yeah. Yeah. Power
Like,
is a
yeah,
big power
like
and
even
fitness
like,
and exertion. Yeah.
yeah, even like viscerally, like when you work with other sentient beings, when you take on their
Mm.
karma or you take on their afflictions, you need a lot of fitness to be able to handle that without you yourself going nuts.
Because
And also,
yeah, because go ahead.
yeah, I
I'm
was just
doing a lot of talking,
also
sorry.
gonna say, like, sometimes when people think of compassion as just like being nice, right? But sometimes, in CC, sometimes we have this hot seat where people get pinned. Or when I communicate with a partner, sometimes the best thing for them to do is to feel through their pain or to point out to them what they need to see. And they might not feel good in the moment, right? And then
Mm.
it actually takes fitness for you to work through that with them, in a sense.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough fitness, you just want to rescue them right away. Hey, let's just feel good. But then that might not be the most compassionate thing for you to do in that moment.
Yeah, because you could just be enabling them, right?
Yeah, enabling.
You're just collecting interest on a debt.
Yeah, or agree. You want to
Mhm.
agree with them so they can stay with you.
Yeah.
You're worrying about, like, what they think about you. If you've been like not nice enough, is she
Yeah.
gonna like not want to be with me and things like that.
So then
Could be,
in
yeah.
your unwillingness to in a way cause harm, in your in
Lack
your
of fitness
unwillingness,
to lack of
right,
fitness.
in
Lack
your
of fitness.
unwillingness in a way to cause harm, in your unwillingness or maybe lack of capacity to do so, you actually end up hurting them more.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get to the questions?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. So we got two questions. I would like to read it out loud. One question number one, when you mention the word exertion or the ability to exert, is that training the muscle or capability to simply meet or simply be with suffering as is? Upon direct recognition, there is ceasing. Like when you guys mentioned that on the last rep of the last deadlift set, so top set of deadlift, that's when the Buddha nature appears. Yeah. So question is exertion the training of the muscle or capability to simply meet or simply be with suffering as is?
Mm.
I thought I touched upon that a little bit earlier about describing how it's the refinement of the process versus that tangible thing. Though, like say, if it was a deadlift, your muscle will get better, but it's bigger, stronger. But really, I think I'm more interested in the refinement of the process, which is not separate from all those things.
That's interesting. I actually have a comment on that, but if you guys have thoughts.
Well, my thoughts right now is just it actually takes a good amount of fitness to hang out with the Buddha.
To hang out what?
Hang out with the Buddha needs also
Right.
a lot of fitness. Yeah.
Yeah, to even see what a Buddha is, right? It's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
Buddhas can be pretty scary.
Yeah. Especially if you have things that you're trying to hide, or sometimes that can be like too much for you. Just hanging out with them, it feels like very exhausting for some people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Especially to people whose minds are very much they can't step out of convention.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's incomprehensible. Like it's through that kind of through conventions that like language is a convention,
It's like
so
we
on and so
buffer.
forth.
We're
Yeah,
constantly buffering ourselves.
and that's how you make sense of things. But when we talk about something that cannot ultimately be contained by any sort of framework, it's incomprehensible in that way, and that's terrifying.
It's almost like you've been like lifting with that bodybuilding or powerlifting suit. That's all you know. But then now it's like, hey, let's lift naked. All of a sudden, it's like you're completely naked, and you just got so much weaker. And that's where you train, right? That's that's where the starting point, the starting conditioning for true fitness. When you just be directly, brutally honest.
I think like we're covering a lot of grounds here, but if we were to point and boil this topic down, would you guys say it's fair to say that exertion is the energy and endurance to get things done?
Well,
right. So the reason why I'm saying that is that I think that this question is going in the right direction, but it could be the case of like, what does it mean to simply meet or be with suffering as is? It could easily be then an excuse to just not work on your life.
Yeah.
Because I'm meeting suffering, but then do you have the ability to get things done? That could be then contending with the fact that we still need to get a job. We still need to like make ends meet. We need to pay the bills. We need to perform the duties of a lover, of a boyfriend, of a son, of a mother, of a father, so on and so forth. And do we have the energy and the endurance to do that? As to being is to perform, right? To be is to do in that way.
The fitness to stay within the muck,
right?
And be completely okay with it.
Yeah, because otherwise, like a lot of spiritual communities constantly have this kind of impetus to like escape the muck, right? Like to like be some sort of like maybe cloudy, maybe like intangible, kind of
pure love
like
and light,
conceptually fuzzy, just
love
kind of
and
like
light.
Yeah, which is the whole reason like the bodhisattvic path is a remedy to exactly that. Like it's a vow to engage the mind.
Yeah, because like even you're talking about like just the word like bodhisattvic training, or when I talked about earlier about meeting bodhicitta gains, some people might think, oh, it's not that it's apart from the love and the light and the warmth and the peace, right? But the image that came to mind when talking about especially the higher bhumis of Mahasattva training, it's almost like you become a warrior.
And
but warriors too, like warriors need to learn how to rest too, learn how to dance, because like even in Greeks, right? In Greece, with the Greeks, even the writers and the poets and artists, they train in fighting, in combat, and the combat were trained in like meditation, reading, resting. I think a lot of this just comes down to the wrong view, wrong belief that trickles down, right? But for example, a lot of these questions or the misconception about the even making a distinction between realization fitness and physical fitness it comes from the fundamental misconception that we have about the making a distinction or the separation between the body and the mind and life.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess like the reason why I also want to pin this topic down, because personally for me, the reason why I find like deadlifting, physical training very, very conducive for my growth is like I guess I've always been kind of relying on the capacity to figure things on the fly. So I never really have to train endurance. I never have to train the ability to just stick to it. So then in that way, like physical training become a very strong test of no bullshitting. It's very clear that I can't bullshit around this. Because like with a lot of tests or with a lot of studying, I could just like last minute it. No problem. So it's like it's decent enough for us to get away with. But just is something about physicality that you can't, like if you get punched, it's painful.
Yeah. If you don't put in the reps, and if you don't put in the reps, then you won't get the result. And even more so, then it's like depending on how you're putting in the reps will affect what type of result you'll get, and that is right, and that speaks to the I don't know, what would you say, the quality of the training. I
would factor in a measurement of exhaustion. Like if you don't put in the reps, you're not going to exhaust that thing. If you don't go all the way, like kind of how Khan was talking about, I could just freestyle it and be okay. Just because you can do that, you don't fully exhaust that idea that you really need to exert, you can just skirt around. So it's not seeing that process all the way through. And I think for a lot of people, they're just kind of, even though it looks like a lot of effort, maybe not the right kind of effort, they're able to skirt by through life in maybe a very successful looking conventional thing, but because they don't exhaust it, it never goes all the way. So it's like there's no dismantling of the scaffolding that holds you to where you're good, you know?
Right.
Just to break through conventions, right? It takes exertion. But also you talk about flow state, John, or like, get into the flow. But a lot of these artists or like musicians, when they get into the flow, they get into the flow, but that also presupposes years of training, right? Like jazz musicians have to go through years of maybe classical training, right? Yep. Like Picasso said he learned how to paint like Raphael when he was 14. That's why he can deconstruct and abstract from the classical training that he had of painting like Raphael, right? Same with spiritual fitness, same with any.
I mean, I'm sure like training in that flow state is something that maybe a lot of people haven't done. So even to recognize what that flow state is one kind of training. But after you get to that point, after you recognize the flow state, it's like, fuck, can I exert and now use my power, my fitness to do what I want to do, get things done, you know? And through that training, you'll have the virtue to be able to do that in the right way.
Yeah, I also think it's really important to get shit done when you might not feel like it, and that also takes a certain type of fitness, right? Like a lot of these trains that we're doing right here in the CC, sometimes we don't want to do it, but then that's the marginal level of our fitness. Can you instantiate, like, your fitness, your power, even when you don't feel motivated? And that's we can maybe touch upon aspiration, but maybe that's another topic.
Would you say then, would you guys say then that this increasing of our fitness, both physically, but also just like the type of like physically, yogically, intellectually, increasing our fitness is a way to access a broader and broader range of free will, of choice?
I think so.
Yeah.
On the way to the point of us being liberated from ignorance, right? On the way to like we can choose which reality we operate under, but to get to that point is like
gotta go beyond the extreme
level of exertion.
You got the extreme of like free will and determinism, things like that.
I was gonna say that's a whole nother conversation that we could potentially have, right? But it's like they depend on one another, right? In short, they depend on one another. Like free will, like free will is expressed through conditions, right? And the expression of free will is consequential. So it's neither extreme.
I think we had a few episodes talking about a pretty similar topic. Maybe you can provide some links. I think the legacy episode, also another episode of you and Tyler talked about realization fitness quite a bit, or I forgot which one it was, but
there's recently,
Tyler.
Recently there is one one-liner from Mei Chang. Just simply put it out there and like have people contemplate on it. It's like the fact that you suffer is the proof of free will.
I heard that today. Now you have the freedom to choose to suffer. How crazy that is.
And then you see that like suffering or like this inherent sense of there is a self is an ontological addiction. Like it's an addiction. Like you are addicted to being a self. You know, like addiction, right? You know it's bad. You know you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway.
Like Eckhart Tolle said, thinking is
like separation is an addiction. You're addicted to that free will. Like because there is a free will, but you don't really know how to, I guess, wield the free will. It just results into ontological addiction. An addiction towards a certain way of being that constantly separates you from the rest of whatever's going on. From the way things are. There's an addiction.
It's like a free will to keep affirming your own view and belief.
But it's like so interesting, right? You got on the choice, but you keep making this choice. So therefore, it's like it's the interesting contemplation. Why you keep choosing to be separated?
Even if you try to change from the same view, it's almost like you cannot solve the problem from the same. You cannot answer a question from the same condition as the question itself.
So it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting situation. I may got this wrong, but I think like there was one lady who filed a lawsuit against Las Vegas casino because she said that they purposely set up the system so that it's exploit her on her addiction, a gambling addiction.
Of course, that's how society is, right?
Yeah.
Duh.
So it's like she's saying like,
What else
I don't
expect?
have free will. I don't have free will because you guys take advantage of me. But it doesn't see like, so it's like, who's responsible for that choice? Who's responsible for her spending all that money? Who's responsible for you choosing separation? Is it so-called like a deterministic God or like creator who controls everything? Or is it you who choose everything?
Neither extremes. Yeah, but if you look at it like that, it's like the amount of fitness and exertion it takes to flip the karma of the world, right? To flip the condition of like pretty much 8 billion people and like all the scaffolding that's keeping society running. Not that it's bad, right? We talk about incorporating modernity all the time, but in order to live in modernity and still instantiate realization, that it requires, I think, more fitness than if you stay in a monastery.
Yeah, it's like it's because like on the other side, like there is so much modernity that's out in a predatory manners to get you, right? Like on the marketing, I was like, oh, I want that now. And I could just play on that ontological setup so that it create shiny object for us to be pursued. A new car, a new house, a new way of being, a new.
We're not against that at all.
Yeah, so it's just like, but like to navigate in that situation, like I mean, John made this.
Lucid.
It's super dope, and we said like,
show us the thing. Do we show off the back? Did we show it that last week? The merch. Oh, John made it. Yeah, me and John made those.
Stravaka, we got our merch now. Stravaka conducting CrossFit, and Stravaka here means in CC context, ones who have heard the signal, one who heard the mission in that way. So we can play by the rules of samsara, right? Like in that way, we can play by the rules of this round of creation, which is modernity, which is own the rules about commerce, capital, deploying capital, interest rate, YouTube live stream, building an audience, all these things that we are participating in the game.
In intimacy with the muck, with the samsara, being involved in all this stuff. It's not going to go away.
Shout out capitalism. Let me type in the chat. Yeah, and I come from Vietnam, which is not capitalism on paper. So yeah. And okay, so shall we go to the next question? So next question is right effort just being receptive and relaxed enough to notice what you need at the moment and implementing the right view? That's the question, which also comes over time with wisdom. How do we know we are applying the right effort? Is right effort in the end just effortless effort, or is that just an absolute view? So I think there's like a multiple question here.
Yeah.
I can also post it in the chat.
I think some of those questions still presupposes that there is a clean separation between effort and effortlessness.
Yeah, it's like I don't disagree with that. The first main question at all, but I feel like somehow it's the view is enclosed. But when you say with the right view, what does that mean? Like that.
Yeah, I guess the reason why, so we're starting this new series, episode 0, just trying to dig out the vibes, right? About dreaming big, starting small, working together as a team, being collaborative. And now the first episode here is about exertion, is because I think that it's similar to me and my stupidity and lack of experience of going to the gym to ask all sophisticated question where I can't do shit yet. Like these questions at this point may not be relevant. It could be correct question if I like just ask very like Olympian level of a question about the difference between like Chinese style of squatting and like American style. Don't matter. Just squat. Right. Because I
like the Chinese squat, by the way. I like the Chinese squat, by the way.
Is that similar to the Vietnamese squat where you just squat with a cigarette?
It's like it's also not to dig in like the audience member who poses question, right? But I think it's a rampant problem. It's like because of the conceptual fuzziness, there's also a lack of like there's no sense of scale of this question maybe not appropriate on certain levels and appropriate on other level. So then when there's this conceptual fuzziness and there's no clear pedagogical landscape of when to know what, then we can be overloading ourselves with concepts that right now is actually become a distraction.
Yeah, we have series of trainings and presentations and other courses that are available for the community, for the internal community, that are only accessible after so much time spent developing a strong yogic foundation. Right.
It could be a lot of the case in CC is that we train quite rigorously, and by rigorously we mean by 90 minutes of dedicated training. Some people do multiple. Couple with 60 minutes of this discussion, and then also engaging on our Discord forum so that we can even write out, reflect further, engage with each other. We do that rigorously enough for 8 weeks just to come to the conclusion that I am wrong and I am stupid. And then we learn. That's a very rough, because a lot of people come into CC with a lot of experience, right? We could talk about 10 years, 20 years of cultivation just to come to conclusion that all of that still wrong and stupid.
That's
a bomb. That's a bomb drop on people.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because it's like oftentimes they needed to go and they still needed to do that. All of that is still part of their path, right? And it even provides content and context that can, when that itself can become a prison, but when we are able to then step out of this kind of solidified view, belief that is resultant of trying to make our suffering have meaning, like the suffering that was endured on the 10, 20-year path of accumulating all of that experience, trying to make it meaningful by therefore not having the willingness to step out of the view and perspective that we cultivated during that 10, 20 years, trying to make our suffering mean something in that way. And so it's not that it's like all of that, if you want to call it knowledge, if you want to call it experience, all of that is not inconsequential. But that doesn't change. It's also coming to understand, because a lot of people will still come into CC and like I'm sure a lot of people think like, yeah, I'm pretty smart, but I'm also pretty stupid. But it's like truly understanding what not just the depth of our stupidity, but I don't know what you would even call that, right? Like the nuanced texture of it. Something maybe.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we normalize as part of our culture is it's not that you're smart or you're stupid. It's just like that the caked up layers of stupidity collectively as human species at this time is so much that it's like, we gotta be stupid. That's like, we gotta be stupid. And there comes now a process of destupidification, making us less stupid. That's a lot of training. That's a lot of reflection. And I was just talking with Tyson, shout out Tyson, and we're going to invite him on a show soon as well. But I was asking him about why do you think exertion is such an important pillar of the culture that makes contemplative lifestyle work? Because he's saying that without exertion, you don't have the medium to face your limitation directly enough. So you don't cultivate humility. Because I guess if you've been around with martial arts, gym, a lot of that, people who's really been there, done that, they're very humble. Like they don't brag, they don't showcase, they know enough, right? On a good day, you can beat me. On a bad day, I can beat you. So then it's just like enough of that. Or if they come across people who's really out of their league and just to be like, oh, there's always a bigger mountain in that way.
Yeah.
But
go ahead, sorry.
But because of the nature of this modern mind training scenarios where a lot of the feedback loop is so far away and the training is so decontextualized, and maybe we have 3 people that train with us. Like there's 3 guys I found on the internet that train with me. And we don't really get down to like the level of criticism that's really like you roll on the mat with the BJJ crew is really humbling of just being whacked out of your mind. by somebody like smaller than you, who doesn't look like they can beat you, but somehow like you just can't do shit. You can't do anything. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you typed into the chat there, fitness to be wrong, you know? That's the exertion to build that humility, you know? And what was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, even the question originally is like, how do we know we're applying the right effort? It's really just being okay with doing it wrong, too. You know, like how are you gonna know if you don't fucking do it and do it wrong? Be stupid so you get less stupid. You know? Yeah, that's like
it could be interesting that the entirety of our path could be a long-winded way to avoid feeling embarrassed.
Yeah.
This is a massive overcompensation project.
Yeah. And then you were talking about people who have been cultivating for, 15, 10 years and are coming into anywhere. It's like we don't want to feel like that time was a waste, and somehow we wrap that into our identity of self. We think that this is who I am, this guy who has meditated for 10, 15 years. And that stance can be so solidified and stubborn and so conceited that even if you try to learn something new, it's always going to come from that encapsulated view, the same ground, you know?
That's what I was trying to get at with saying we're trying to make our suffering mean something. And I guess I should what's the word? Not refine, but be specific or something like that. It's means something inherently, right? Like trying to find like the point of what this was all about, like the inherent point of what this was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because not to say that 10 years, the stuff you learned in that 10, 15 years is waste and wrong. No, it's like it's very useful in some, and I'm sure many conventional applications, even beyond conventional. But to get to the place where you're breaking every ground, the groundless ground, you have to be able to be embarrassed, have that humility, be wrong, be stupid.
Yeah. And I mean, like that, I think that's also like the standard of modern day intellectuals, right? Like you know the limits of your knowledge. You know that I'm not very good at Hegel or Kant, and that's my weak side. But I'm decent at Plato. So you just know, right? You just know that there's a certain ballroom, and you know your strength, you know the weakness, so you can address it. And that's one of the things that I'm appreciative of learning and immersing myself in academia now. Like they just expected of like when you write a paper, you can also address that this is the limitation of my knowledge, and this is I intend to explore this in a further study. But for now, when I scope it in, here's what I'm talking about. So
you're clear about the limit you're speaking from, right?
Yeah, like you set up the limit for yourself. You know that at this time, this is my problem, and I do have an intention of going there. But then we can scope it out sequentially in that ways, instead of like a lot of these problems is just like conceptual fuzziness of. Are we at the end or are we at the beginning or somewhere in the middle? Where am I on the path? And understandably, the subject matter, the nature of mind training can be timeless in acyclical in that way, right? So there's come with it's a wicked problem. It's a problem of the situation that we talk about something that's always present, like all pervasive, that you can realize right now if the cause and conditions are right for it. So oh. Maybe I can ask myself like that golden question, and that will pop. And then we'll throw an inquiry there, and with this kind of like slot machine kind of ontological addiction, like just constant. It's like, oh, maybe self-inquiry, the way that I've been doing it, is just like sitting on a slot machine, just like
I just need the right koan. I just need the right koan.
I just need the right koan, man. Like tell me the right koan. I've got a slot machine. 777. And like we thought we have it for a day, it pops and we feel expansive. But like, wait, I thought Jesus is gonna come and save me, or like the version of that.
Yeah.
Like a new version of that, right? I thought rapture is here. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like that's why like the episode 1. If it's a sequence and like the vibes of leading up to cohort 8, shout out starting in January 19th, then you can also go there if you want on tinyurl.com/mytrainingcc. We're going to go there and have all these dreams and ambition because we're also here to talk about this pursuit or this really really vowing to go for completion in that way, to go for Buddhahood in this lifetime. That's a big dream, similar to whatever endeavor that requires a huge level of planning, organizing, and mapping it out. Then it's got to be also contending with our limitation and working at it in a sustainable manners, right? It's like otherwise you're just like there's many runners in CC community, and I heard from them talking about how people get stuck at a forever intermediate because they don't know how to slow down and make it more manageable. Like they don't see the point of training to run slow and building this base of mileage over time, similar to how like people just want to rush into this very big topic of whatever big topic that we want to talk about, instead of just like maybe we don't even know how to sit. Maybe we don't even know how to properly set up a posture that can sustain alertness over extended period of time. Maybe our hips has always been like lower than our knees. So in that way, the spine always kind of crouch down and it generates a certain kind of challenge. Maybe we need to fix that. Right. That's a very detailed level of execution that we can take a look at. Or maybe our shoulder is always like off and all sort of problems in embodiment, right?
A lot there. Physical posture, posture of view, posture of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also I don't know if it's concerning or it's just what's going on, but one of the research paper that I'm reading in, like they survey I think 1,000 meditators on meditators right now. They want to see what kind of practice are they doing, because that's one of the research where they see that there's a lot of people experience psychotic-like experiences, and that combined with mystical. Like sometimes it's such a fine line between are you being psychotic or are you having a mystical experience? Like that's even like John's intro, right? Like it's not a medical emergency, it's a spiritual emergency. But what's the line? Like how can we tell? Sometimes it is a medical intervention, and like some people need that, right?
Yeah, we were talking earlier about sorry if I may interrupt, but a good transformation story. I find like the transitions between these points, I guess, is really important. I guess a lot of people want that instantaneous pop. I want this thing now. If it really just came right now and you weren't prepared for it, you'd go fucking crazy, in a way that happened to me and a lot of people,
yeah,
you hear about. But yeah, I think that's what's kind of special about what's special about CC is we provide this like soft landing for that transformation to happen. Yeah. It's important how to integrate that back in, then to be able to start exerting again, something like that.
And like essentially the finding in that where they number one they find a lot of reports where people, it's funny that when people meditate for health reasons, so just want to calm their mind and like become less stressed, then they probably don't experience any psychotic or like mystical experience. But if people meditate for enlightenment, now they are in that territory, which is I guess own of CC's members and audience here. We go for that, right? So then, but when they look into the methodology that the audience member is following, the significant, I think like the majority or like 50 or 60% of the participants, so that's quite a lot. They use meditation apps. And when they ask what tradition or what form of meditation they're going for, they just write in like their meditation app. Or like yoga. They just write yoga. And that's like somebody asks you like, oh, how are you training your running? They just write running. Like what does that mean? So then there's so much vagueness about how we train. Oh, one of the people also like 10% or like 5% also write Wanka, Wanka style body scanning. So it's like it's just like the most popular messages out there, which is some sort of meditation apps, Calm, Headspace, Waking Up. They got a lot of backing so they can push that, right? Or Wanka is because it's free, it's accessible, there's many centers, so people can kind of approach to it. But the level of clarity that we arrived at could be quite low, but then it leads us to own this conceptual fuzziness. Like, what is right view? We Google it, talk to ChatGPT, or maybe listen to some YouTube videos, but it doesn't string together a kind of a coherency, pedagogical clarity over time. And it's concerning, right? Because then it's just confusing, man. It's just like, what are we even talking about here? It's just the more time we spend in it, the more confused we become.
Yeah, I think the reason why I didn't go completely insane during my path when I was just doing it by myself is because I spent years lifting. I got this physique, this me to the house to breakthroughs and the realization. I'm okay, fucking serious. It takes fitness to even go through this thing. Like I almost died too, but
yeah,
I lifted.
So maybe it was important for you to flex on the nun.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was sort of critical.
It was very important.
I mean, even just getting all the hate from the people of Taiwan, from the internet in general, over the years, that built a certain kind of fitness too, right?
Yeah.
So,
for sure, it's build up your tolerance, right?
Yeah.
If you can see, it's all the signal that we're trying to, yoke to.
What question in the chat for Khan? Why is Khan looking so juicy right now? Just thought I'd read that out loud.
What question is that?
You don't see it?
No, I don't see it.
It's from Jack B616.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you gotta, if you're only looking at the top chat, I have the live chat open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, shout out Jack.
Juicy.
I think you enjoying my glow, bro?
The glow
looking
up.
Looking glowy. Yeah. But yeah, there's so I'm also doing a literature review on some of this. It's very, very early stage, just getting my feet wet with how to do a literature review paper. But yeah, that's one of the things that I'm quoting, and I can put my paper up on our channel later. But yeah, essentially just a lot of cool, interesting materials that we're digging into. Shout out John here. There's also many more things I want to talk to John about, but I guess if we can find a time to it could be a frequent guest on the show, and just essentially rotate with us and like share our perspective. Because John been here with us more than a year now, and other members we want to put on is also more than a year in CC. We've been through enough with each other, see many ups and downs. We're still in the trenches, still practicing every day. Still upgrading our view, our capacity to have proper conduct. We're still work in progress in that way, and in that way, we wanna journey with the people on live here, whoever you are, wherever you come from, to go through this journey with us. Because I think that, I guess the really bottom of the page in a kind of like conclusive manners is a cultivation. It's a lifelong thing. It's a lifestyle, right? So we're not really here to answer a question in a way that can give people like ultimate juice so that you could just take it and then just everything is fine. We're not here to sell that kind of Kool-Aid. We're here to sell a kind of Kool-Aid that just make this thing cool, and we want to do it forever. That's the Kool-Aid I think that we're selling.
Beyond this anatta that everyone talks about.
The Kool-Aid to have the appetite for life, right? To want to explore and want to live life. That's why I think personally that the new direction that Frank has been taking his show is very fascinating, because at first it could be like breaking only the unwritten rules about what a realized person is supposed to be doing with their life, is break that rules, but actually to highlight that, yeah, Frank has appetite for life. He wants to be with the people, for the people, by the people in that way.
I said, to party in hell is heaven, but to party in hell without suffering, it takes fitness.
The fitness. But okay, any parting words? from us?
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get more Mike Tyson clips, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. I do have this. I want to show you guys.
Closing.
Maybe we can conclude
clip.
by this, but it's one of a kind of fascinating modern icon that I think can well, debatable, but is in part of the process of, you know, getting people to exert more, getting people to take up, just take up training. And that's my boy Jake Paul, and I'm gonna share. I'll share the screen a little bit.
Making boxing great again.
Yeah. Because before we go live, we were also talking about how, like, Taylor enjoy WWE, and we was just talking about the Paul brothers. And if you guys know, like, Jake Paul is fighting Anthony Joshua, and that's also speak to the level of, what? Like some insane exertion.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce John to the John Cena theme song. But
can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Before boxing, I was just a lost individual searching for a meaning, partying, and going down a destructive path that would have led me to probably be in jail or dead. Now I have such a higher purpose.
You refer to yourself as a man of destiny a couple of times before. What kind of destiny?
Everybody has a purpose in life. Everybody has a destiny. And the knowledge of that destiny enables one to fulfill it. See, so everything was put here for purpose. Ants, buzzards, trees, and it's the knowing of that purpose that enables every man to fulfill it. And life begins when a person realizes his purpose in life. Very few people know how to go about finding what's the best purpose in their life that they should try to fulfill. And mine was just to be the world champion, and then also not only being the champion, but keeping my dignity, my pride, and my manhood. So this is my purpose.
My purpose in life is to create the greatest sports story that the world's ever seen. I want everyone to rise with me. God asked of me to become world champion as a sacred responsibility. And you do have to answer to the boxing gods. And I want to, but I had to believe that. So I'm 1 for 1 with sane, insane, crazy goals, and then accomplishing them for whatever butterfly effect that is going to have on the world. But I think that's one of the most important things you can do. Change the world that you live in and prove to others what's possible.
Now he's back in the ring, still doubted, still questioned, but the fire's bigger.
What a hype
the
video.
reach
You
is
hype.
wider. This isn't just a fight. This is what stays when the lights go out.
Let's get back on the journey to get toward becoming a world champion. That's why I signed up.
Not the Creed.
This fight to me is going to be a breakout performance and really show how good of a boxer I am.
1, 2.
Chavez know how to pick the pace up, slow the pace down, pressure where he needs to put pressure, and it's just all about how Jake responds to it.
The goal is in front of us, nothing has changed. That night, Julio Cesar Chavez is going to have to be the best version of himself, and I already know Jake is going to be the best version of himself. And when this is over, no more words. No more question on if Jake deserves to be here. He's earned it. Respect him for it. It's that time.
1, 2, 3, get there! You're not gonna get there without my shit.
We cannot look over this guy. We can't look past this guy. We can't look through this guy. We gotta run through this guy.
Fucking go, baby! Keep working, baby, keep working!
My name is Jake Joseph Paul. El Gallo. You're watching me become world champion.
All right.
Transformation story.
Good
June
story,
28th.
right?
It's
What's that?
already, it says June 28th. I thought the fight
Yeah,
is
that's already
Yeah,
happened.
I think Jake won that fight.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, I don't follow.
So who is it fight? I'm sorry, like so Jake Paul used to be like YouTuber, right? I mean, he's still
Yeah,
YouTuber.
yeah.
Disney Channel star.
Is
Disney
that
Channel
right?
star.
Like, I don't know nothing about this guy.
So
Yeah,
he's
I've heard of him, but he's a brother
he's
too.
quite like just like a delinquent YouTuber, everything for clicks, everything for views. Becomes super depressed, wanting to kill himself, and then now, like he was saying at the beginning that clip, boxing gave him a higher purpose and like stabilizing himself.
So he
Through
actually got
exertion,
pretty
right?
good. He actually
So he got decent. He got decent at it. But people saying like he's still doing gimmicky fight, like picking people up beyond their prime, doing all of this. But on December 19th, he's gonna be fighting currently a world champion that's like bigger than him and much more like just no chance of winning at
Real
all.
fucking deal. Yeah,
How did he even get the position to
Dude,
fight that guy, though?
Anthony Joshua's big, man.
Yeah, it's like 6'6", like so.
What?
Yeah,
I'm curious. What do you think it would take to change people's opinions of Jake Paul? Because it seems like even if he wins, the people are just going to say he paid them off, right?
yeah, yeah.
So what do you think it takes?
I don't know. Like
Maybe it is. Yeah.
Review.
I don't. Maybe he's not even out there to completely change it. Just fuck this shit up. He's like playing this game so well. This game of modernity. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I see. He's just fucking with it, and
I can't tell if
I
it's
can't
serious or
hate on
not. Like the trailer, I couldn't tell if it's serious.
I think it's serious. Yeah.
I think it's serious. Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I'm not positing anything about Jake. I'm just saying, I'm just curious, like, what would it take to actually change people's opinions? Yeah.
But I guess like the reason why people won't change the opinion is also the reason why the story continues, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's get the spice going. It's like a
Yeah.
story of just like people are refusing to even admit any kind of legitimacy to the story, and like just pushing the narrative further and further and further in that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's part of that narrative that they're reaching of just enough kind of legitimacy here and there. Fighting Anthony Joshua, I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I reckon it's probably gonna be a lose for Jake. But even if you put up a decent fight, right?
What
like
is
a
the
decent
weight difference between them? I'm curious.
I don't know.
like Anthony Joshua is much bigger. It's just everything on the stats say that no chance. But even so, if he puts up a little bit of a fighting, so it's sort of like a little bit like Rocky, then that's enough. Like just a little bit of going the distance.
There's no
Because
way
he
he's
was-
gonna lose about
It
anything.
says they're
Even
within
if he-
20 pounds, typically.
Yeah. But even if he loses, he's not losing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so in that way, it's a pretty good deal. In that way, but I guess like the conversation now is like, if Anthony Joshua doesn't drop him in the first 2 rounds, that's probably like Rick. Like that's how much of a capacity difference. Yeah. So
provocative.
yeah, it's an interesting case of also like just exertion in that way, how it can shapen up a person and also like generate a narrative for people to also wanting to, at least be part of the conversation or also show up to the gym in whatever ways, since like, yeah, bring the combat sport and bring the capacity to train, facing our limitation. Again, it doesn't have to be physical violence in that way, but it's a type of willingness to meet our edge, right?
Yeah, to the people who's doubting him, and like you said, and him, they come together, right? It's almost like what I see, just a cosmic flex. It's like the universe can do this. That's why there's like art and like pushing boundaries and just whatever is keeping the narrative going. It's like, why not? You want to be part of the flex. It's like Peacock's tail, right?
Yeah.
But okay. Stream, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
we got one person in the chat who thinks Jake's gonna win.
I think that's Alex.
I
think that's Alex. Yeah.
I'd like to see that happen because the drama, it'd just be such a fucking it'd just be cool to see people lose their shit.
We can watch it together, by the way. Like it's on Netflix. So it's very...
we should do that. I think we should do that.
Yeah.
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 I don't know how to watch boxing. Maybe you guys can give us the commentaries. I don't know how to watch boxing.
Yeah. I don't know much either. I barely know anything. I just know it from being
just
involved.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so shout out to our lovely audience here, and we'll see each other most likely next week on Friday, 4:30 p.m. EST as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope to see you around. If you're interested about this, you can visit us tinyurl.com/mindtrainingcc. More information on that. Until then, take care, and we'll see you around.